Hi friends, it's Belinda here from Be Making Joy, and welcome to episode 30 of What Brings Me Joy, which took me all week to record, as you'll find out why as you watch it. So let's go back in time. Hi friends, it's Belinda here from Be Making Joy, and this is episode 30 of What Brings Me Joy, a mostly knitting podcast every 2 weeks from my home here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Today is Monday, March the 11th. I'll be recording this episode in bits and chunks because, as you can probably hear from my voice, I have a chest congestion, like an elephant is sitting on my chest. And I know I could give myself some grace and just put off recording, and you'll be happy to wait till next week for another episode. But my projects seem to be at the phase where I feel like I need to show them to you, photograph them, update my Ravelry, and whatnot before I can move on. So I thought we'd go ahead and do some recording. I have one finished object, and I've cast on a new one that's related to that. And I've also made changes to an old finished object. I've made some progress on my husband's t-shirt quilt, and another of other knitting whips have gotten progress. So let me take a quick sip, and then we'll get started. Yeah. So I got a good amount of work done before I got sick. And then since then, I've been doing all of my plain stockinette work, which is pretty much all caught up now. I did my finances. My statements are ready for the tax accountant. I worked with my tech editor on the Stadium Sit-Upon, so it's ready for its release on March 25th. And actually, if I feel better soon, I might even get it out earlier than that. I have a mix and match sale now running on my Ravelry page, where you can buy 2 of my patterns, 2 or more, and automatically get 25% off your total. That's on my Ravelry page. I haven't managed to get it set up on the Etsy store yet. So this sale is running to the end of March. So if you're waiting for the Stadium Sit-Upon, it will still be active when that is released. So, finished objects. I finally finished the Afterthought Heels on these socks. I did the body of the socks over the summer, finished them in September, and they've been waiting for their heels. And I'll put in some pictures of the progress of doing the heels. So you make the tube, and then you cut in and make the heel. So if you remember in the summertime, returning viewers, our plan was to make a couple of different socks with different toes and heels to see which fits my daughter's sensitivities best. And her feet are only 3/8 of an inch shorter than mine, so I can easily make them to fit both of us. So if she doesn't want them, they're mine. So there are some wonderful videos on this method by Nitty Natty and the Crazy Sock Lady of doing an Afterthought heel. Yeah. So I had her put one of these on one foot, and the sock that's over there from my previous knit from the Vanilla Sock pattern by Kate K of the Crazy Sock Lady. I had her put one of each sock on each foot to tell me which toes and heels she likes. The toes on both are a wedge toe, but the Vanilla Sock was a cuff down and this one's a toe up. And she did like the sock better on the toe cuff down because it was a little snugger, more rounded at the bottom. So maybe that comes to the tightness of my increasing versus my decreasing, or the cast on versus the Kitchener stitch. I don't know. This was Judy's Magic cast on. The other sock, of course, with the Kitchener stitch. And the heel, it fit all right. It fit just perfectly. It fits both of us just perfectly. But she did prefer the heel flap and gusset from the Vanilla Sock. So that's where we are at that. So I had wanted to try a couple of other combinations of heels and toes, like the round toe, the fleagle heel, fish lips kiss heel. But Ilana pulled out this book again. I should have had it ready over here. So Ilana pulled out this book and looked and found a combination that she wanted me to try. And you might remember in the summertime I tried a couple of toes from this book and got frustrated with them. So I decided to try again. There's the combination. So this book is the flip pages. So here's the combination she chose. It's in sections so that you can mix and match your foot and heel and toes and your cuffs and your leg and your cuff, leg, heels and toes. So this book is toe up. These ladies had a previous book that was cuffed down. I haven't tried anything from that, but I do have the book. I picked up both books at a estate sale a couple of years ago. So this is a star toe with a stepping out heel. And then for the leg, she wants me to do a twist of fate. And the cuff is called winding down. So I started it. There's the start. Did Judy's magic cast on. And then started following the instructions. And again, I felt like the instructions had mistakes in them. For example, round 1 is knit, round 2 is set up these 4 increase points. A star has 5 points, so why does this only have 4 increase points? Whatever. I will say that the way the increases are spreading out is probably going to make it more comfortable than the standard wedge toe. And then the increase row had instructions like knit 2, last stitch before marker, make 1 right, slip marker. Wait, there's still a stitch between me and the marker. What do I do with that stitch? Of course, obviously, I knit it. But it's an example of some of the mistakes I found in the book. And I think it's because these ladies are not toe-up sock knitters, or were not at that time. This was, I think it was in the 70s. So I think they just simply reversed their instructions but never actually tested them. Anyway, all that, nonetheless, like I said, it's turning out great. I was able to figure out what I should do. But the Judy's Magic Cast On makes little ears at the ends of a tip, which might be the problem on that this sock, the little ears, the extra space in there. So I tried again with the Turkish cast on. Turkish cast on. There are instructions in this book for both, and there is also a tutorial video by Very Pink Knits that was really good. And so I think that was a smoother cast on. There aren't those little dog ears. So it's turned out nice. Put this foot part on her toes so far and it's feeling good. So now I'm ready to start the heel. The stepping out heel starts 3 inches before the end of your foot. So now it's ready. And I didn't intend to go that far. I intended to just set it up and then set it aside as purse knitting. But as I said, because I was sick and had to put my concentrated efforts down and just do all my stockinette knitting, I got to this. Okay, I'm going to pause. So before I finished that Afterthought heel, I pulled out 2 old finished objects to make some changes to. my 2022 and 2023 temperature scarves. What I decided to do was to crochet a little gray line across, dividing each month. So I took the yarn that I used in the border and split apart the plies. This was a 4-ply yarn, so I split apart. So I take a chunk as long as I think I can handle, and split it into the 4 plies, and used a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook, and went in each stitch and pulled it up and looped it through, and just a simple crochet line across. So now I can even more quickly at a glance compare them side by side and see what January of 2022 was compared to January of 2023. And 2023 was slightly warmer. Speaking of temperature scarves, 2024, I am caught up to February 13th. Haven't done that crochet line across there yet, but I will. Right. Now, my stadium sit-upon design, as I mentioned, the tech editing done, the pattern is set for release on March 25th. I would love to finish it off earlier. Those are the cushions on the bed. I have designs for football, hockey, soccer, baseball. So I finally finished the trim on my baseball. That took a while because I had this just sitting in my purse as a purse project. And at one time I measured it and said I've only got 10 more inches to go. Then when I did that, I came back and measured it again, and I was wrong. Apparently the measuring tape I used at first was stretched out. So I had further to go. So anyway, it's finally done. This piece is ready to assemble. I've been stalling on the assembling part because I wanted to film a tutorial of assembling it, because attaching a vertical edge to a horizontal edge is a skill. So I thought I'd do a tutorial for you at some point very soon. Because I do want to get these finished and get photographs taken to put into my pattern release. And I also want to do a tutorial on how to add a zipper. I've added zippers to knitted garments like eons ago, but not recently. But I'm very confident that I can do it, and I want the tutorial video while we're doing it. So that's where we stand with the stadium sit-upon. Yeah, do I want to say more about them? They're designed with fingering weight yarn using 3.5 millimeter needles. I used a hat trick or sock needle from Ancient Arts Yarns, which are 80% superwash fine merino, 20% nylon, so you can use a similar yarn. The instructions are for 14-inch, 16-inch, and 18-inch versions. It includes charts for the hockey, football, soccer, baseball, and basketball. And you could adapt it for any sport with a round ball. And I've got some yarn coming in the acquisitions section that I'm going to use to make a dodgeball version for my daughter. Okay, the Snowflake Throw that I'm designing, I've added the third color, and the March's color, and I'm eager to start on April. So this was using the 12 Days of December Enchanted Winter Fade set from Ginger Snap That, a fingering weight on their Lush fingering base, a 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon blend in 50 grams skeins. And I seem to be on track for using just under 49 grams of each skein, so doing good. For this snowman section, can you see the snowman? Yeah. So for the snowman section, I had to keep on with the purling so that the sky above the snowmen looks the same as the sky between the snowmen. So I hope that doesn't become a problem. I know a lot of people complain about doing purling, but ultimately that looked the best. To recap, we have the center snowflake that I designed. Then we have the snow angels in the ground. A pattern from, am I showing you the right side? Yeah, I am. A pattern from the Vogue Knitting Stitch Dictionary. And then the next two colors went into the snowman. It changed color like midway through the snowman's body. Now it's ready for another increase round with the next color. And in the next section, I'm just going to put yarn overs in so it looks like it's snowing again. Just as darkness starts to fall, it starts to snow again. So I'm going to put some of this tubing on the ends of it, on the needles, pull it through so that I can spread it out and take a photograph. So just like that, we pull this through so that we can spread it out to its full width. And I will photograph it, insert a photograph in here for you, and update my Ravelry page before I move on. I've not been too good at keeping my Ravelry page up to date. I want to make that more of a goal. Oh. And then we have the Pokémon Cloak that I was making for my daughter. I finished with all 31 colors from the Pokemon themed mystery pack from July of 2023 from Fangirl Fibers. That also I need to put on some tubing so I can spread it out and give you a better view of it. So in my acquisition section, my order has just arrived. I need to go pick it up. The red, white, and blacks for the Pokeball colors, which will be the hem on the bottom, the button band, and the hood. So, yeah, I've run out of knitting on that until I go pick up my new order. That just arrived. It arrived on Friday, but I haven't had a chance to go get it yet. We'll do that very shortly, before we finish recording. So yeah, these also are fingering weight yarns. It was a 20 gram each skein of minis. Oh. That also came with stitch markers for each Pokemon, which my daughter's going to attach to buttons for the button band. Somehow, she's got it planned out. She can do it. And here's my leftovers. I've got about 4 grams of each color left over. So my daughter come up with another idea for me to do fingerless gloves and see how long the sleeves get. So we'll start them 2 at a time, like in my 2 at a time top down fingerless mitts tutorial that I have on my website. I will rewind each ball so that I can pull from the center and the outside at the same time and do them 2 at a time. I have to put them back in order. And we'll see how long they get. And she thinks those will be wonderful to wear with the cloak. I think that's a great idea. But we'll finish the cloak first. Speaking of my daughter's creativity, I'm going to share with you some pictures of a project that she's just finished. She looked into the crochet stitch dictionary and found the Solomon's knot stitch and used it to make a net for her stuffies and hung it from the ceiling. So we went to the hardware department of Walmart and she picked out wire. She made a wire frame after she finished crocheting the net and then got hooks and hung it from the wall and the ceiling. So pictures for you. I'm so proud. Some other things my daughter has done. A cat, a bunny. She's working on another cat. She's taken over my new knitting corner. But that's okay, because it gets her out of her room. We've been spending some time together. I still got the recliner over here. So yeah, she's been busy. Okay, this is the Equilibrium Shawl pattern by Monique Boonstrom of A Passion for Lace. However, I'm using a thicker yarn and larger needles than it's called for, so who knows what I'll end up with. I'm using Aunt Lydia's crochet cotton instead of the recommended gossamer thread. And I went up to 4mm needles instead of the recommended 2mm size serial. So it's twice as wide as everybody else in the knitting group. So maybe it'll be a huge shawl. Maybe it'll be a curtain. I don't know, but I'm going to keep going. But it's a Shetland lace pattern, so it requires my fully focused attention. Because Shetland lace has yarn overs and K2 togs on every single row. Wrong side and right side. So I've been doing a few rows each day until I got foggy around about Thursday. So now I'm only on row 43. And it's on hold until I feel better. Now, Irina from Fiber Chats has a knit-along running for this in her Ravelry group. Also, she's hosted a couple of Zoom meetings to discuss our progress. And she has recordings of these get-togethers on her YouTube channel. So check it out if you're interested in Shetland lace, because a lot of good tips were given there. And I'll link to her channel below. Now, this February, I pulled out the t-shirt that I had promised for my husband from all his old marathon shirts. So, as soon as I've caught my breath again, I'll take you down to the basement to have a look at my progress. So, it's now actually 3 days later. Instead of bringing you right down here, I went out and picked up my yarn. And then after that, my lungs were quite done for. I went to the doctor. It's a viral infection. My vitals were all fine, but because I'm asthmatic, I've increased my inhaler use. So I've just done a shot of my inhaler, and let's see how we do. Today is Thursday, and we were talking about my husband's t-shirt quilt that he's got me putting together out of all his running shirts. So in the last episode, we had them somewhat laid out here, and I began putting together strips. So I've got a few horizontal strips done, not attaching them together vertically yet, because we can still rearrange them afterwards, but I've been kind of grouping them by height and making rows that way. So right here I've got 10-inch high pieces, and I was trying to do the math to seam allowances and all that, and my divider strips in between to get them all roughly the same width. 66 inches I think was what I was aiming for. My notes are over there. Some of the smaller ones I can put a divider in between them and get to the 10 inches. However, I'm still short 7 inches in this row, so I need to do some more rearranging and rethinking on that. But my stabilizer material has arrived, so now I can go and stabilize the rest of the pieces. And then what I think I will do is start with the larger pieces first and make a column of these big ones first. So that's where that stands. Do you have any questions? I'm not a quilter at all, by no means. I'm a knitter. I'm just winging it here. But I think it's turning out good. I have a PS. I did continue on. I made the heel. This was the star toe. And then this is the semi-short row heel and heel flap out of this book. And it turned out far too big for both Ilana and myself. What happened was the gusset was increased, and then the heel flap was done. So it turned out quite large. And I should maybe buy myself a sock blocker sometime. So it turned out quite large. It actually fit on my husband's big feet. So we think it was designed for someone with a wider heel or a higher instep, which is not either of us. So I'm going to pull back to here where the increasing started. And we're going to try the stepping out heel, which looks to me like it's just a short row heel without any gusset increases. But the star toe she liked. It fit good. By the way, the pattern, all the patterns in this book are written for 64 inch or 64 stitch circumference at a gauge of 8 stitches per inch. So I've had to do math all the time for making a size smaller, a 56 stitch circumference. And I did do the math to change the number of increases to accommodate that as well. But it didn't work. No, not for us. So, yeah, that's where that's at now. Excuse me. And my nose is starting to get red. Whatever, I'm going to carry on. Acquisitions. Here's all my goodies for this month. So, first off, the first week of March, while I was at a grand opening for a car wash and a storage facility that one of our friends owns, I found a yarn store. The name of the store is called Yarn Twisters. So I'll insert some pictures here. Now, I did not buy any yarn, but I got a few other things. And next time I need yarn for a specific project, I will go back there. What I did buy was a sock ruler. This works much better than my school ruler that I was using because I can put it into the toe of the sock, which I tossed away. I measure it. It's got the measurements in centimeters and inches. It's got shoe sizes in US from kids all the way up to where at. Am I looking at the right side? Doesn't matter. Till around about size 5, it splits into women's and men's sizes. It's got the UK sizes. I assume just adult sizes. Instructions for the Kitchener stitch for casting off at the toe. And gauge holes. And I bought knit block pins. This set is by Knitter's Pride. And these are for when you're blocking. Instead of having to put 100 pins all the way around, you can just put some of these around. So there's, ouch, they are sharp. 2 different sizes. Not sure how many is in the package. 12 large ones and 8 small ones, I guess. And I finally found something else that I had been keeping an eye out for. Yarn Twisters. A box of die catchers. So she sold them by the box there, but she also sold them by the individual sheets. So I just bought 2 sheets. And what die catchers are, they look like bounce sheets, but you put them in your wash water to soak up any dye that leaks out of a yarn so that your colors won't run from one color to the other. I've never used them before, so I just bought 2 to try it out. I'll definitely need one on Ilana's Pokémon Cloak when we wash that. Because I never did a swatch of any of that yarn. I don't know how it holds up. Yeah, and I want to use it on my black sweater, my Melody sweater, to try and keep it from fading. So even though that is in machine washable yarn, I'm still going to hand wash it. That's what I got at Yarn Twisters. And then we have a special retreat colorway. This is for a trip called Wool, Wine, and Wheels. Wool, Wine, and Wheels. It's organized by Barb and Cynthia from Yarniversity, which was formerly River City Yarns. It's April the 12th to the 18th. I've signed up. It sold out way back in the fall. So we're going to bus from Edmonton to Jasper. We're going to stay in Jasper a few days for some classes and some activities. And then we're going to train back to Edmonton on the Via Rail car with the viewing observation deck. So they collaborated with Caroline at Ancient Arts to come up with a limited time colorway. Jasper. It's a supersized stock needle skein. And some in our group are doing Caroline's summer road trip shawl pattern with it. Which is an assigned pulling pattern that I almost started last summer. But I do have another yarn in mind for that pattern, so I don't know if I'm going to do that. There's also a pattern by Stephanie Pearl McPhee, which is who is going to be our instructor on the trip. I haven't gone looking at her patterns yet. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but that certainly reflects mountains, forest, lakes, wildflowers. And I'm starting to get excited, looking forward to this trip to Jasper. And I better be better by then. Okay. My order for some specific projects. It's all sock needle. Ancient Arts has many other wonderful fibers in different weights, but I always seem to go back to stock needle. But they work directly with different mills to get exclusive combinations and then dye them in their shop, in the back of their shop. Sometimes at Knit Group I get touchy-feely with the other fibers, but I keep buying sock needle. So this, the white, red, and black is the Pokemon colors for the trim and the hood on the Pokemon Cloak. And then the second black is for another football and hockey pillow. This is one of their hat trick colors. This is the Winnipeg Jets. So it's going into a hockey pillow for a specific person. I don't know if he watches my videos, but he's been very supportive on my Instagram page. So sometime in the future, I'll start that. This is the Team Canada colorway. And I think I've told you before that my daughter is on the Team Canada dodgeball team. So I'm going to use this to modify my baseball version of the Stadium Sit-Upon pattern and make a dodgeball. I think I'm going to use this color for the dodgeball. Dodgeballs come in many different colors, but when I went to watch them play in Houston, I think the balls were pretty close to this color. So that's what that's for. Yeah, I'm justifying everything. And this is the color of the month. And yeah, I don't have specific plans yet for those. But when something comes along, or if not, there'll be socks. So the color of the month this year are themed after paintings of flowers. And I'm not going to read the whole blurb this episode because I don't think I can handle anymore. But just briefly, the painter is Mary Cassatt. The pink picture is called Lilacs in a Window. And I will put a picture in for you. Mary Cassatt was from 1844 to 1926, an American painter. Spent much of her adult life in France. Close friends with many leading Impressionist artists. Lilacs in the Window showcases her mastery of luminous color and loose, expressive brushwork. That's it. That's all my acquisitions. Okay, let's call that a wrap and put this episode to bed. Thank you for watching, and until next time, happy knitting, happy whatever it is that you like to do. Go find some joy. I'm going to go find some joy and a nice cup of tea and honey.